So I don't know, it might show up on your end that it's already live.
Correct, it is.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna stand by just a second here. Great. Okay, it looks like we're live. Hi everybody, I'm Dustin Coiner from TrackDaz, and I'm here tonight with Chuck Giacchetto from the Westby racing team. You're the team manager, right?
I am. Yep.
So what does that mean, Chuck?
It means I think I'm in control of everything from the top to the bottom, but I'm really not.
Okay.
Is what
Yeah,
that
I mean,
means.
like what really is your role with the team?
Well, in any other environment besides what we have right now in this country, I think my job would probably be a little bit easier. But all of our jobs are a little bit more difficult right now because of this thing. And I didn't see it going this way. Like when the COVID first started, I thought we were just going to kind of like blow through it. Boy, was I wrong. But what it's done is I am willing to do anything, but I've done everything from acquired sponsors to, which I still try and do on a daily basis, to loading the truck, unloading the truck, helping build bikes, acquire all the parts, stock all the parts, prepare parts for the engine builder. I don't do any travel or anything like that. We have a home office in Tulsa, Oklahoma that does that. So I'm really, really fortunate there. But I would say mostly parts acquisition, liaising with sponsors, and just doing the brunt of the stuff back at the shop. I'm the only full-time employee for the team.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. We got a couple of flying guys, and I just hired I've had a guy on for about a month or so now who's really green, but his dad works at YMUS, and he's really excited to learn about all this. So he's only 22, so I'm hoping we can get him, kind of fired up. We need to get some new blood in the paddock.
Get him raised up right. Yeah. Well, I've been watching your team for several years now. I can remember Dane Westby, the Wolverine with the burns and all that. And, Dane was kind of one of those dudes one of the pro dudes that like a club racer kind of dipshit like myself could kind of relate to, right? I mean, he had
he had
that SV background, and
yeah,
so I mean, one of my staff guys, Stephen Ludwig, was like, dude, ask him if he's like one of those guys that you would have a beer with or whatever.
Like me or Dane?
Dane.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, Dane would go to the woods with his little Chevy love truck, and he would cut all the trees down, and then he would come back and he would build the bonfire, and then he would bring the beer.
Okay.
Yeah. Dane Westby he didn't realize it, but he was for the people. I mean, people flocked to him very naturally. And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to working with him as well. Dane was a super infectious guy. Still is. I mean, we still get a lot of requests from people. And Dustin, I really wish that more people had a chance to spend time with him, because that guy was like Fonzie and didn't know it.
And I always wondered about the whole 00 thing. Like, how the hell where did that come from?
Man, so it was a really weird deal when his okay, so there's a little bit of a story with it. When I first started working with Dane and his dad and Dustin Metter, Dane used to wear like these Syed leathers. They looked like his dad's leathers from the 80s. They had like the exact same cut.
Right.
And he used to wear this white cue ball awry helmet, like this. It wasn't a Corsair. I forget which one it was, but it was one for like an oblong skull. So, I'm looking at him in this helmet the first Daytona we worked together, and I'm like, hey, bro, your helmet's like 8 sizes too big. Really? So we went over to see the guys at Awry, and they're like, oh my God, this guy's helmet's like huge. So I went back with a smaller helmet, and Dane got fitted, and Trig was really impressed, and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other thing. So slowly but surely, I was able to, Trig started trusting me to make more and more calls about things. So when it started coming to sponsors and things of that nature, I would just go sort this thing out. I would present him with a package and go, what do you think? Yay or nay? So when Daytona Motorsports Group came to town, Dane's number had always been 213.
Okay.
February 13th. And then he finally had the chance to get a 2-digit number. And it was like, man, let's do something unique that is going to stick for forever. Like, who else is going to pick 00?
Right.
You know? And they let us do it. And it was a bunch of bullshit at the time because, we can't program the computer. The computer doesn't recognize 00, this, that, and the other thing. So they entered it manually, and they made like this.
Wow.
I mean, it was silly, but they made this special line of code just for the 00, and it really stuck. There were a lot of things about Dane that were really unique, and it's funny that you mentioned that number. I'm sorry to be so convoluted about it, but there's always a little something with Dane. There's never just anything that's cut and dry.
Yeah, I always thought it was kind of like an FU to the DMG guys, but
well, I mean, respectfully, it probably was. And then we used to get dude, when we used to have to go to like CCS or Wear races or something, we used to get bullshit because they're like, you're not doing 00, And I said, well, what if we put an X on it? No, you're not doing that. And I said, what if we just make it 88? Somebody else has got 88. What if we put an X next to that? No. So yeah, it was always this shit where we were pulling number plates off and putting them on, and it was like a big fuck you in the end. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I remember you guys. You guys worked with I want to say you worked with the Road Race World team a little bit, right?
Yeah, we did. So the first year we went, it was Trig's team completely.
Okay.
And let me emphasize, it's always Trig's team completely, no matter where we go, which I love, because he's the biggest supporter of them all. Dane's dad, Trig Westby. He's right. He keeps everybody in the circle, in the drum circle. So we did 1 year in 2009 by ourselves with some help from Graves and Chris Lessing. And the next year we rode for Project One Atlanta, which was a Chuck Graves and Perry Melnichuk like combo. So we did that, and Dane really showed, we really had some good things happen on that team. We had what at the time, to me anyway, was the best suspension engineer that we had in this country by far, in Chris Lessing. And Chuck and the guys over there at Graves built really nice stuff. I mean, we never had a failure or anything like that. And then it gave me the opportunity to work with Ed Sullivan, who is now our crew chief. And then he was our mechanic. So that was pretty unique. And then after that, we did it for a year. And then we went to John's, and we spent 3 years there, 2 on Suzuki's and 1 on the Honda. And then we decided, let's get Westby Racing cracking again.
Right. I mean, I do remember the 00 gold R6. And you guys have carried that gold theme throughout ever since, right?
We have, and how that started was the Yamalube, their flagship. God bless you. Their flagship oil, their premier oil, was a gold bottle.
Yes.
And so the gentleman that got this program started with us years ago, Trevor Kemp, he's the guy who did all the marketing for Yamalube and all the other stuff over at Yamaha at that time. We didn't have a deal with racing. We had a deal with this customer service group. At any rate, he's from the UK. So the painter designer was like, ooh, gold bottle, John Player Norton. He gave us like 10 different renditions at the time, this guy that we were working with. Super nice stuff. So he came up, I'll give him credit. Andrew Swenson design. He came up with the original designs all the way through 2018. And Trig just really liked that gold. I'll be honest with you. I didn't care for the gold.
I love it.
Do you really?
Oh, dude. Yeah. Like I'm kind of like the track pimp or whatever. So like,
no, whatever. I mean, it is like now the gold is like disco. You know what I mean? It's dude. There's not enough bling in that. Yeah, Trig. And Trig, if Trig could have it his way, dude, the thing would be like Bass Boat. But we can't find anybody to shoot it the right way.
Beg to differ, bro. Like yeah, dude. Of course, me, right? So the guys the dude that's painting Richard's bikes.
He's right down the street from Rich, right?
Yeah. So Matt from Color Zone, I've been kind of texting him, and I started sending him pictures that I took of a boat from Bass Pro Shops.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, hey dude, can we do something like that, but like throw some of this at it?
That stuff's bitching, but I guess you got to sand it a bunch of times or something. My guys never wanted to deal with it,
man. Like, So yeah, I guess we're gonna do course metal flake, but yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, I think Matt at Color Zone's down for that kind of shenanigans.
Bitching,
So
bitching.
there you have it.
It's so different. I mean, you know what I mean? I think I've only ever seen one other gold bike, and well, there are two. There was Joy Higa, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a bike the last year Sete Gibernau rode in the 500s. There was or it may have been first year MotoGP. He had some kind of gold Ducati or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say Tony Elias when he was in Moto 2 had like some gold stuff too, right?
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right.
So, yeah, I mean, you know, like that's, you got to kind of go to the Wayback Machine to dig that up.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. I mean, I'm getting older now, so it doesn't seem like it's that far back, but I guess it is.
Right. I mean, it's been a minute, right?
It's 53 trips around the sun coming up. So
wow.
Oh yeah.
So you guys raced the R6 for a few years, and then 2015 rolls around, and 2015 Yamaha came out with that new R1, and I personally remember you guys at the test, right?
Oh, dude.
And I was like, holy crap, this Dane guy is ripping on this thing.
Dustin,
and
you can't. Oh man.
And so that 2015, that's the year that, I don't know if he was on his way to the race or maybe it was right before, but.
No, what happened was, I'll back it up so we don't have to get into the, some of the stuff is, it's so good. Some of the things that happened.
Yeah.
So, 2014, you hear about this bike and you keep, bless you again. And you keep hearing about how good it is and how this it is and how that it is, but you can't see. I mean, dude, they wouldn't show me anything. They wouldn't show me a picture. They wouldn't give me an idea. Those guys at Cyprus were probably running around like, here comes Giacchetto again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
So when that thing came out and we decided to put Dane on the super stock bike, it was like a coming out party for everybody. I mean, it was so cool and so special. It was like, it was just his bike is the way we looked at it,
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing available for it in the beginning. And we went to that test and oh my God, I mean, he rode so beautifully. I mean, he came out of the motorhome one time. He's like, dude, did you see that? I'm like, what's that? He goes, I was just talking to Josh Hayes. I'm like, right. He says, no, dude, he was asking me how I was getting through one section of the track to me and asked me. And I'll never forget that. Dane always reflected on that. He would tell people who were talking to him, ask him about riding, about things of that nature, and how Josh Hayes came to him that one time, which was fantastic. But yeah, so in between that test and the first event at COTA, which was MotoGP, obviously, yeah, he was going to see his folks. Dane was on his Honda Hawk and he was going down one of the roads and right in front of apparently right in front of a Whataburger or a burger stand there in Tulsa, car came into his lane and we don't think he got hit, but he obviously did his best to evade and he got off into the sidewalk, and the sidewalk is like it is in any city. It's narrow and it had parking meters on it on one side. And then it had, like somebody's small brick wall on the other side. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was out there, I think about 24 hours later and I don't know. It's a, Dane was the best guy for me. He was the best guy for me. And I think he helped me be the best I felt. I don't know that I'm the best that I am, but I try not to get too choked up about him, but I've been thinking about him a lot lately. Been a lot of, we've had a couple of resets. So, but he's so fun to talk about, Dustin. I mean, I'm telling you, you could piss yourself dry with some of the stories we got, and we still refer to him today. So
yeah,
and Matt's a great guy for letting us talk about Dane all the time too.
Those are that's the first thing a couple of my guys mentioned. They're like, dude, you got to talk about Dane. I was like, of course I'm going to talk about Dane.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I mean, I just, you'd think people get sick and tired of hearing the story or the stories about him.
Dude had a leather jacket like Fonzie and wore freaking chops on his face. Like, who does that?
I'll tell you, there's some people in the world that really got to know Dane. And, I really got to know him. I think Dustin Ed was well on his way. There's a couple other guys. But Patricia Fernandez, the gal he was going with at the time, they had a connection that was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, those two, I have to say, were soulmates. You know, there was no bullshit with her either. Like, it wasn't the typical girlfriend thing. It wasn't you can't bring your girlfriend to work this week. And she messed with him all the time and gave him shit, and she wanted him to do his best. So she was easy compared to other family members and spouses at the track. But yeah, no, those are great times, dude. I mean, and it set us up for where we are now, because I'm not sure that if it was anybody else, I think the main sponsor, which is Trig, his dad, I think they probably would have finished up for 2015 and said, but I think this was such a mission for Trig to do, and that we just kept on. I mean, like, shit, dude, I just talked to him the other day about some stuff, and I said, it's weird, bro. I go, we're in September, and we haven't even talked about next year, about 2021. And I think people just assume you're going to go, you know what I mean? Right. So I said, hey, what do you think? Are you inspired? That's what you want. And he's like, well, hell yeah, I'm inspired, but I want to be inspired all the way to the front, more to the front of the pack. And I want to win, and I want to win a championship. And awesome. So I don't think Trig's slowing down at all, which means we're not going to slow down. We just have to be wicked smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dane started it all. Sorry for getting off track.
Well, the thing is, talk about Trig and Oklahoma, right? Like, up until I talked to you the other day, I had no idea you guys were in Georgia. I thought you guys.
I know, dude. I know. What's crazy is Trig, he likes to have everything around him and all his friends around him and everything. So like Dustin works there full time. He's like the curator of Trig's garage. Plus he has, common retail work that he does.
Right.
But, it just made sense at the time. And I had a shop. So I'm like, well, let's just do it here, and most of the races were on the East Coast, and thankfully still are.
Yeah.
So it works out really good. And it's nice. I don't do any other work there now. It's just Trig stuff, and it's good. The Bat Cave is full and secure.
So what? Basically your shop is basically now the home base for Westby Racing.
Absolutely, 100%.
Is there?
100%.
Where are you guys?
What's that, buddy?
I'm asking. Where in Georgia are you guys?
Oh, we're in Woodstock, Georgia. I'll throw him a bone just because he's a maniac, but Traction Dynamics is right in the same business park as we are. And I know a lot of club guys and track day guys do business with Max. We're like 3 doors. We're about 3 doors down from him. We're about, say 45 miles or 45 minutes with no traffic northwest of the airport in Atlanta. It's a really cool place to live, dude.
Right on, man.
Yeah, it's super mellow.
Dude, I'm already starting to get people commenting over here on the video.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going, hey, that guy's a dick.
Let's see. No team in the paddock has more heart, from Nate Richmond. Let's see. Ludwig says he really would have loved to have met Dane. Seemed so real in the interviews, like he was the same on as he was off camera. And then obviously Gil is letting everybody know that he's here.
Who is that?
Gil Ramos.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He's like, hey, what's up, Chucky?
Yeah, tell Gil that if she's not watching, she'll watch the read broadcast of this. That would be my mom, and he always gives her the text, "Hiya, doll."
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. My mom thinks he's cute, like he's in his 20s. She doesn't know he's in his 70s.
Yeah, Gil is like 77 years old, right? Okay, so after the unfortunate passing of Dane, you guys had a few other weirdos riding the R1 before you got Matt, right?
Oh, we are a pack of weirdos. We're like, our team is like the island of misfit toys. Right. So the first guy, I mean, dude, look, this isn't funny, but looking back at it now, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And I hope Jeff May is either watching, probably not, or will watch. That guy, he stepped in to the lion's den and had no idea.
Right.
And the reason that it went like that, that guy could have won both races by 15 seconds at COTA, and there wasn't any way he was riding at Atlanta. It just didn't gel. And Jeff had just come off of doing some World Superbike stuff with Buell, and we knew he was capable, and he's a local Georgia boy.
Right.
Nothing about it gelled. Nothing. I think Jeff's a great guy. I mean, you know, I have zero problems with him.
The dude
And I
still comes
appreciate
out every
him.
now and then too to race super stock, right? I mean,
Yeah, right. We just didn't have it going on. And you know, that was a super hard weekend at COTA, but there's some funny shit that came out of it. I mean, there really was stuff some material we still use today.
like what?
Okay. So
Yeah, come on, man.
yeah. Okay. We'll let it fly just because it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, Jeff obviously wants to go there and do the best that he can. What rider doesn't want to, you know? He's looking to climb his way back out and get another ride. And we get this bike we think is bitching. And so he goes out at COTA in the first session, and he's like 11 seconds off. And we're like, wow, that's pretty interesting. So then they had us a session at the end of the day, and he went 4 seconds a lap faster, but he was still 7 seconds off of the leaders.
Right.
And more importantly, he was 7 seconds off of Dane's time. So we're like, well, you know, Dane was a great rider. Not sure if he had the experience that Jeff May did. He's going to be right there. And man, that's when the shit started. You know, he started telling us, hey, we need to do this to the bike. We need to do that to the bike. And this is where I like my rake. And this is where I like my trail. And we're a team that doesn't really want to talk to a rider like that. Just tell us what's wrong. Just tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. And then we can get the technical guys together and they can take care of it. And like, we really should have taken that event off and we didn't. And like I said, I mean, poor Jeff, he just jumped into the shit, you know? So after the first day, we were all kind of beat and whooped. And there was a guy there from YMUS, this guy, Kenny Spurlock. He does a lot of service manual work and stuff like that and production work for Yamaha. Well, he did all the introductions and the press stuff for the new R1. And so he knew the bike really, really good. And he was helping us run the CCU. It was the first time a bike had come with a CCU. So we were looking at the data, and Jeff was standing over his shoulder, and Jeff's like, yeah, you see, I'm braking way later than Dane ever did. And Kenny was like, no, dude, that you have it backwards. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, the throttle's wide open right there. And he's like, no, it's 35%. And like, we're all going crazy inside the trailer. They're outside, you know, under a flashlight, under the canopy. And like, we're, you know, it's just maddening because neither one of them could accept what was happening, you know? And dude, I just turned into an instant maniac. And I started with the 7, which you'll hear about later, Giacchetto, but I started with the 7 seconds thing. So everything was 7 seconds. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, you know, Jacob, what are we going to do? Well, what do you mean? Oh, bro, we're 7 seconds off. And then I go to Nathan Raptis and go, Nathan, I mean, where are we going to find 7 seconds? And 7 seconds, how long is it going to take to get this plantation out of the oven? Or plantain, I mean, you know, 7 seconds. Everything was 7 seconds. Till finally, like, Ed kind of grabbed me in the back of the trailer. And he's like, look, there's nothing we can do about this. The only thing we can do is be one with the 7 seconds or go home. I don't know what else you want. So you know, I'm surprised he didn't slap me in the face. Like, you snap out of it, man, you know? And so the 7 seconds, I mean, I know it's not as funny now, but if we get going back and forth, like if you're ever at the track and we start with the 7 seconds thing, you'll know where it came from. We can play the whole, you know, we can reenact the whole thing. But so every once in a while, the 7 seconds will slip out. Just as a thing, like if somebody's
5 years later.
Yeah, like if somebody's taking their time filling a cooler, or, you know, I'm bullshitting on the phone when I'm supposed to be packing up with the guys, but yeah, there's all kinds of funny little things. And then, so Trig was super emotional and he's like, I can't do it, Chuck. I can't do it with him. I don't feel it. Dane's not here. So at that event, Hayes was trying to help Josh Day find something and put something together, and he had bought a bike. By the end of the event, we had just talked enough and he was calm enough, and he really made me feel good just talking to him about, you know, he's like, look, I'm just looking for help. I don't even want to ride. Just help me with my bike.
Right.
And Steve Liberatore from Yamaha said something to me as well. He's like, man, it'd be really cool. You know, Josh has been one of our guys for a long time, albeit we haven't been able to do much for him. And 1 week later, dude, he showed up at Road Atlanta, got on the bike, and was on Golden Pond. We were like, what the hell is going on? He was doing really good. The conditions were super, super messed up, and a lot of rain and sun and rain and sun. And then for the first race, they went out, and I think Jake qualified on pole, and I think Joshy was at least on the front row. And they went out in the race, and Jake started braking. I think he had about a 3 or 4 second lead, and all of a sudden he disappeared. And I'm like, holy shit. Well, the laps were happening so fast, and I was out on the back with the spotters, and I didn't know what happened. They're like, dude, why aren't you happy? I'm like, you just won. You won the super stock race. So I went down there, and Trig and I are crying, and we're like, holy shit, Dane gifted this thing to us. And, Josh didn't know whether to shit or go blind. He's like, are these guys going to hate me? Do they love me? And we're all soaked. And yeah, no, it was crazy. And Josh, we just said, hey, let's keep this guy around.
Yeah.
And Josh, he didn't get a fair shake either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we were developing the bike. And we gave him everything we could, but the bike was still in such its infancy.
Right.
So, Josh had some tip overs on the bike, and the last 2 he had they're just awful. They're just violent.
Yeah.
And we had heard from some guys, some teams that he rode for in Europe saying, look, Chuck, this poor Josh has hit his head before.
Oh.
So, I mean, he was in good shape. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Josh was top notch, but after the last one, it scared the shit out of us enough. And at Road America, and Trig just said, please don't make me do this again. I can't do it. And we all really felt the same way. So that weekend, here comes the Scholtz kid.
Yeah.
And actually Ed and Trig were the ones that had their eye on him first. Sheridan Marias had told me about the guy. And Ricky Marias did, because he rode for Sheridan's dad down in South Africa. You hear all kinds of shit, whatever. I mean, and to look at the dude, his leathers didn't come through or something. He was in like leathers 3 sizes too big, and he's already 3 sizes too big. So when I saw him, I'm like, this is a Neanderthal. Plus he had I hate it, the friggin' porn stash. The first time I saw him, he had the porn. Oh, yeah.
He did.
Dude, look, I know I don't belong on the cover of GQ, but he is so awful. He's like, Kiara loves it. And I'm like, well, okay, as long as Kiara's the one that's making out with you, his wife to be, because as long as it's not me, I can't stand it, because he's such a good looking guy, especially when he's all cleaned up. And then he shows up and he's got he's got the dirty, almost the dirty Sanchez,
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And he was and is something to work with, I'll tell you. I mean, Dustin, I've never dealt with anybody who had never spent any time in this country or anything. And he was so green. I mean, just incredibly green. I mean, he came over here, dude. He didn't even know how to put clothes on a washing machine.
Right.
He didn't understand any of that. And I'm like, how can you not understand any of this? Well, I mean, he led a really good life in South Africa, and they had servants and helpers that did all that stuff for him. And yeah, I know.
Is he like a prince or something? Like, what the hell?
He's far from a prince, I'll tell you that.
Well, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And his dad will tell you the same thing. Now, his mother, much like mine, would tell you a different story.
Okay.
But yeah, no, Matt's a good boy. He really is. We've had the ups and downs with him, I think, just like every team does, and stuff like that. But in the end, I was talking to Dickie Stamboli about it. That's Richard Stamboli's NASCAR name, Dickie Stamboli.
Okay. So I'm going to file that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he won't like it. I only told him about it once. He was like, right. Whatever. But he can say whatever he wants about me.
Maybe I'll think about it while I'm eating my communist Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Like, only Richard would tell me that my ice cream is communist. Like,
so
what the hell, dude? Like,
I'm eating a thing of it was either everything but the kitchen sink or something, some kind of Ben and Jerry's. And I had not been a Ben and Jerry's fan for long because it had so much shit in it. I'm like a plain guy.
Right.
So my wife got me turned on to it, and naturally, it turned into an obsession. And then you know, I had to go to Ice Cream Eaters Anonymous and everything. So one night I was eating this ice cream and I took a picture of it. You know, I think it's Stamboli was like, oh, it's 110 degrees here in the middle of the night. And I was like, here, cool off. He's like, Ben and Jerry's, what the hell's wrong with you? So he starts texting me like all this propaganda. And finally, the phone just rings, dude. It's like midnight, my place. Bling, phone rings. I go, hey, what's up? He's like, dude, I'm on my way home. Listen, you know that blah, blah, blah supports this one and blah, blah, blah supports that one and that dirtbag from Vermont and then a da-da-da-da. What's wrong with you? For Christ's sakes, get some Haagen-Dazs, some blah, blah, blah. So like a week later, I was on my way home. I passed the supermarket where it has all the bitchin' ice cream, but I stopped at the gas station who has a little bit less bitchin' ice cream. So I got a thing of strawberry Briars, and I took a picture of that and pretty much got the same reaction. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have no taste, you got nothing, you got no looks, your mom don't love you. And I said, well, it's either this or Ben and Jerry's. He's like, oh, Briars is great.
I mean, that's Richard though, right?
Yeah.
Wow,
When he talks to me, dude,
he's such a savage dick.
He is.
Sometimes.
And you know what? He
Love him.
totally talks shit to me all the time. And then, and he's true, he's right. But, you know, he goes, oh, dude, you know, you're in the paddock and you and this guy were yelling back and forth. And I know you're only joking, but everybody from Yamaha's like, And I'm like, dude, I want to be me. And he's like, yeah, but you can't be you if you want to do this, you want to do that.
Right.
As soon as we're done with that call, like he's sending me texts like, you know, blah, 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 you jackass, da, 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 LOL, you fat son of a bitch, you know, shit like that. I'm like, oh man, it's on.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, he started calling me dust off, you know.
Yes, from you tipping over.
To sweep up rocks and shit from my bike out of his shop. And ever since then, man, it's dust off this, dust off that. And it's just like, man. And then he mocked me every time. I was like, you know, I was the K&N filter guy, you know.
Oh shit.
And yeah, I'm the guy that started that whole thing. And man, like he, you know, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. So then he mocked me endlessly for even mentioning that.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I love him.
And you kind of, you know, you don't know where the edge is with him or the end is. So I'm like, I tread really lightly, like super lightly, because I don't know when the guy's just going to like go into full on special forces deal and kill me through the phone.
I poke him until he goes there. That's why we're friends.
Like, you know, you got your phone and there's an app and like all of a sudden like a Stamboli arm comes out and grabs you like this.
Wow, man.
Violent. And he's I'm going to tell you what, he's a self-centered son of a bitch who doesn't care about anybody. And he'll appreciate.
I agree with that.
Well, no, he'll agree with it. I mean, there are people that they say he's selfish, and you know, I find that to be too, especially when we did our deal this year. I mean, he didn't want to give us anything. He wanted to give us any advice. He just wanted this big attack sticker on there. And
right. Mm-hmm.
He's been.
No, you know what, dude? Honestly, I don't agree with that at all. I've known Richard for years and years, right? But yeah, I mean, he's definitely hardcore. You know, the dude is definitely hardcore, and if you're not on the same sheet of music, you're just gonna be.
I'll tell you, there's a perception about people. Some people in the paddock, as I'm sure there are many perceptions about me, and everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah,
he has been a very good. I don't think he is meant to be any kind of a mentor, but he's certainly guided me in the correct way a few times, and he's pulled me out of the shit a few times before making a bad call.
Yeah.
And I would say he's about as forthright as one can be with technical information. We have access to a lot of things that he has access to. You know, for instance, same rear set, same handlebars. He did something special for the triple clamps this year. With some research that he did over the winter. And, you know, he asked us to test them. He took our feedback. We decided on one he decided on one for everyone based on everybody's data.
Right.
And it's worked beautifully. And he wants to have the feedback. And now every attack customer that gets a pair of superbike forks has that technology in there. He hides stuff, but then he gives it back. We've been, especially myself, have been very lucky, but he's definitely I would say he's an integral part of sourcing information and facts for our team. He does a pretty good job with keeping me on task, and which is funny because when I talk to my guys, I have an hour's worth of bullshit to tell him, and it's already trimmed out an hour from what Stamboli told me not to say.
Right. Right.
But no, he's been Richard's been really good and he has been exceptionally generous. That was a jab to him, and I'm sure he's laughing right now if he's listening or will later on.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think you know where that came from
tomorrow when I see him.
Yes,
but you know, I'm gonna bring Walker a big bag of M&Ms, so it'll be all right.
As you should. That's right.
Well, he's got to drive to Jersey.
Oh, dude.
So
that guy's you know what? He's diesel.
Yes.
He's a locomotive. He never stops. He doesn't say shit. And he always, I mean, Walker's a shit dude. He just,
yeah, I know.
It's a mission for him. You know, I don't know if he's like Richard or Richard kind of beat it into his brain.
Dude,
but
he's exactly like Richard. He's hardcore, no bullshit. You know, and then when Joseph went and played motocross dummy, I was at the shop recently and I was like, all right, Walker, I guess you're building my bike. And he looks at me, he's like, what?
No, Richard was super upset when that happened. And I understand why. I mean, I can see both sides of it though. You know, you can't just tell people. I like to tell people, oh, you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't have a life. It's my choice not to have a life, you know? But I can see with a shop as busy as Rich's, I mean, there's a lot of times, dude, where I might ask him for something. He got anything on the shelf. He's sold out of it. And if that place isn't firing on all 8 cylinders, it's more than just the race team. I mean, first and foremost, it's attack performance. They need to take care of the retail customers.
Taking pictures of kit parts, you know?
Right.
Oh, like every now and then I get voluntold into something, you know, it's kind of fun.
But
so, you know, so the relationship with attack performance was kind of officially new for this year, right? Yeah. I know he was kind of helping you guys out a little bit before with the electronics and stuff, right?
Yeah, he was doing some stuff before with us. Excuse me. And we're on the same electronics that he is.
Right.
And so he and Ed, our crew chief, and our Sparky there, our electronics guy, Herschel Oxher, they all kind of liaise and work together along with Paul at Richard's place. And Herschel has a really good idea of how things are going. But it's interesting because sometimes the guys have 2 different opinions about something. And what's funny is, even though they have 2 different opinions, the end result is generally always the same.
Right.
And I think teams, if I wasn't on this team working with him and working with the people that we are working with, I would be envious. Because as advanced as his thinking is, we have guys among our team and the technical side of it that keep it really simple. Because I just, dude, as I acquire, I want to see something happen. And you can't, even though I can acquire fast, doesn't mean it's going to happen fast. But Richard sorted a lot of stuff out for us very early on. A big deal for us was getting a works oil pan, which are a lot of money. And I said, well, why don't you just give us yours, hubba. And he's like, I'll let you use them. And we're like, okay. So right away, dude, we had this oil pan, and Yosh could build a pipe, and we were way ahead of schedule there. So there's some important things that he came with that, really made the difference. And to be honest with you, Yamaha was pretty darn influential in our decision-making to work with TAC. And I think they wanted to have it all surrounded under one umbrella. And it's something that we've wanted for a while, to be supported by YMUS in the racing department, because we never had been. And the relationship with Richard is something that we always yearned to, honestly, to have with Graves. And we just, it didn't happen. Neither one of us ever had time or budget at the time that it was going to work, So now that we're a lot closer to Stamboli, things have really, he's a smart dude, man. And he is extremely eager to help. I'll tell you, Dustin, I'm surprised that he comes off of as much stuff as he does, talking to you, in technical terms, honestly.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. When I say that means I don't understand what the hell he just said. It's like,
Hold on a second. Let me pause my recorder.
no, he knows.
I know he knows. I know he knows.
Yeah, I mean, we were before our call last night. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, I think we need to trade places. And I said, yeah, dude, I'll go there and I'll go down to the shop and wax poetic on superbike electronics, and you could come up to my house and say dude a lot. Right? Like that's
yeah. Not happening.
No. Yeah. So, okay. So you know what? You guys raced super stock for a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about the transition between running super stock and then going to superbike. You know, I know you've seen a couple of times. I know you've watched my thing with Richard, but I've kind of shit talked Altus a little bit, like kind of scumbagging them into going superbike. Like, come on, guys, go superbike.
Well, yeah, him. And so there was him that was like, come on, man. And then there was always the guys from Yamaha, loosely, you know, come on, man, you should bring it up. And Moto America was huge, dude. Those guys, like Wayne and Chuck come by. Hey, what are you doing? Same thing we were doing 5 minutes ago. Hey, what do you guys think about running superbike? Yeah, let us get through this. Hey, what do you think about superbike? Yeah, let us get through this.
Yeah.
So we were kind of punked into it. You know, we wanted to do it. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but we had to grow as a team to do it. And that's when we went into superbike, that's when old Captain Sullivan there, Ed, our crew chief, that's when he really started tightening the buckles and demanded that we go down certain roads to test certain parts a certain way at certain tracks. And, you know, he has got a really good car background and done a lot of testing and been involved with a lot of really good teams. And I think those things that he knew about really helped us out a lot. I mean, I know a lot about motorcycles and testing and things of that nature, but Ed had been involved at the highest levels and frankly always has been. So I shouldn't say I let him, because that's, you know, what I think that's shitty to say, but he said, hey, Chuck, look, this is what I want to do. This is what we should do. And we've taken his lead, and we've also been super lucky, dude, to have the corn dog, to have John Cornwell.
Dude, corn dog definitely is.
So he was with us for that whole transition.
Oh,
you know
really?
what I mean?
Okay.
The whole transition, he was with us. And, you know, the first year we did superbike, we had the YEC products on the bike.
Okay,
So
I was wondering about the electronics on the first bike.
Absolutely, and we had all the YEC.
You had a flash tune, maybe, or if you know,
we did. So we did flash tune 2015.
Okay.
And through the first couple of events, 2016. And that, I'll tell you, man, Chris Gardell really did a lot for us in the beginning. He really,
he's like on another level up here too. It's like, whoa, okay, bro.
I haven't seen Chris in a long time, and I'm sure it's because he's busy trying to figure out how to manipulate something, crane maybe, where there's real money. But no, that guy really did a lot for us. And the relationship came to an end abruptly, but not because anybody was mad. I mean, Chris was upset, and I understand why. But there was we were in such flux trying to just make the motorcycle consistent. And when we first got the bikes back in 15, you couldn't do that with the kit ECU. It had to be manipulated and flashed. It was all buggered up. And as they got better with it in Japan, and we were able to get every year buy a new, you know, over the winter, we were able to buy the next version ECU. So we started testing with it and testing it back to back. And it was like, it was doing, you know, I don't want to get into the pitfalls of any product, to be honest with you, but the YEC was just, I think it was a much better route for us. And it was a much better route in the end for Ed, because he was looking at some very simple screens, and he was not concerning himself with injector timing. And I mean, with the flash tune stuff, dude, you can see it all. I mean, as you know, everything. And when you look at
actually, I just ride the thing.
You just ride the thing, and you're smart. That's what I would do. But you can see everything in it. It's just like Morelli. and I think for me, it was certainly overwhelming. So unless you had Chris there all the time, that was the other thing. Meanwhile, Chris is trying to build a business, get through the paddock, et cetera, et cetera. But no, so we got into the YEC stuff. And that same year, we decided to have a modified swing arm installed on the bike, which Freddie at Superbike Unlimited, he's another one of our premier sponsors.
Yeah, I remember him selling that swing arm.
Yep. And dude, it worked. It was good. It was real good. And so we used three of those. And then I decided to buy a set of forks in the off season. And I got a really great deal on those. Owens USA helped us out a lot. They were one of their old test sets of forks. And then we got some brakes, and then we did this. And so we just really kind of chipped away at it. And one of the biggest challenges we had with going from super stock to super bike was obviously we had a larger tank, but you have to rework everything because there's no room in that bike, as you know. I mean, it looks bike, but it's really small. And you still had this large, even though it was thinned down, you still had a very large OE harness. And then we had to have another harness for our aim data. And this is when Rich started with the, don't be a sissy, get the Morelli stuff, get a loom, blah, 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 blah. And then you go and you talk to the guys at Yamaha about shit, and they're like, yeah, we know it sucks. I got a couple of spreadsheets from Halverson, and I was like, we need 3 of these things. You can't go racing with 2. You got to have 3 just in case.
Right.
And then we just have been working on it ever since. That's when Herschel joined us when we went to the Morelli stuff, because he had experience with Morelli and Motec and Denso over at Yosh. So he's ended up being a really good fit for us technically as well. We tried a lot of things, but nothing terribly harebrained. And most of the stuff was because either I didn't want to go to Trig and say we need 4 of these because they're $8,000 a piece. We just took it slow. That way we could make sure we were going to be at every race weekend representing our sponsors, and the guy could get the maximum amount of seat time. Right. Which is something that Matthew definitely requires. He likes a lot of laps. So the transition between it, there were some really, the 2 years that we had it, there were some really odd things that we did. And when I say odd, I just mean there was a lot of homemade stuff. Our Fabi, well, not dangerous or anything like that. I mean, our Fabi was a great guy, or still is a great guy. But it's not like getting a Works gas tank, or excuse me, a Works subframe, or my guys over here, I don't mind calling up and buying something, and they got a little bit of Richard in them because they like having stuff of their own too. I mean, Ed built a carbon fiber tail section and just countless things. So the move to Superbike was not as painful as one might think, and it really wasn't as painful financially as one might think. We just decided to do it, after we dabbled for a year with the YEC. Trig was gracious enough to say, look, how much do you need? What's the budget? This is what I want to see. And it took us most of the year to get what he wanted to see, and then testing in the winter to get where we were. But, it was a lot of hard work, Dustin, but I got to tell you, it's not as, if you just pay attention, it's not as hard as you think it is, especially with the R1. And there's everything you can do in stages with it too. You don't have to do it all at once. So, and I think there's the most technology out there for the R1 too. So if anybody wants to build a superbike, maybe get in touch with us or Richard, and we can give them a hand. And that's where I really want to push the YEC stuff as well. Keep everybody in a Yamaha bubble, if you will.
So you know what? I've had a few discussions with some friends about this, and I spoke to Richard recently about this, but and Richard had a pretty strong opinion about it. There's been, because of the spread between the results in Superbike, there's been a lot of chatter, if you will, about the ECU stuff, and we should go to British Superbike rules. We should go to simplified ECU.
Hey man, if we went to BSB rules, as far as electronics, no one would. I promise you, no one would be happy. Well, knowing what I know now,
Richard said that basically he would just develop engines for every track, and
that's right,
and dominate even more.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I wish people would get off the look. We're the ones that are finishing second and third and fourth, right?
Right.
And I think if people spoke to, I mean, it's fine, right? Everybody has an opinion, but I would love to do what we're doing now, which is to kind of set the record straight and just cut through the bullshit and say it is what it is. I think if you speak to, let's just say teams, you speak to my team, you speak to Kyle Wyman, you speak to the technicians at M4, you speak to the guys when Yosh was around, you speak to David Anthony. These are all people that bought into the electronics before or at the same time as us. So a bunch of us have taken this leap at the same time. And it's not as hard as you think it is.
Right.
If you want to do it all by yourself, it's going to be a son of a bitch. But if you have somebody you can lean on or somebody that you can consult with for a reasonable amount of money, you're on golden pond. Because, you know, my guys pick it apart. But if they were working with someone else who was mid-pack, just like Richard could and will, can give you a starting place so you can go around the track. You're going to have traction control. You're going to have your wheelie control. And he's going to put some thought into it. Now, for Richard, it may be very generic. Something that he gives you is very generic. But nonetheless, it's going to be way better than what you were on. And I think that our electronics right now are priced extremely reasonable. To be honest with you, the biggest deal is the loom. You got to have somebody make it, man, unless you're unless you're Superman. You know, I mean, dude, Herschel was building some shit for us, and I went over there, and it looked like a M80 went off in a ball of yarn, and all the wires were wet. They were 20 white. They were 26 gaugers, no tags on them, and oh yeah.
I've been at the shop when Richard was making the harness, dude. I know.
I'm gonna go get
I was just like,
right. I'm gonna go get a pizza. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you can get through that loom thing, and there are guys, dude, the problem is people just don't know who these people are. There are people all over the world, and there's some really good people in this country where you can go, hey, I need this loom. And they go, okay, no problem. Is it going to be Morelli? Is it going to be Motec? What's it going to be? Oh, it's going to be that. Send me the pinout. You send them the pinout. You can get the drawing from the manufacturer. You know, Morelli's surprise. When you do a deal with Morelli, when you get on the program, dude, they send you all the wiring diagrams and the pinouts and everything. I mean, it's still all Greek to me, but to a guy like we have, or Richard, it's like taking candy from a baby, you know? But you know, it was interesting you saying that. I'll do another shameless plug for Rich. You know, he's like, dude, I don't care. If more people want to run electronics, I'll help them. I'll do a course. I'll lease them stuff. I will, you know, if they have the right amount of money, I would do a wild card deal.
Wow.
Oh yeah. We're keen to get more people on the grid and more people to get to where they want to go. Right. I mean, I got to be honest with you, dude. Cam is doing what Cam's doing because it's Cam, that wonderful motorcycle, and Richard. And Richard is giving Cameron exactly what he wants, and Cameron is giving Richard exactly what he wants. Whether either one of them know it or not is irrelevant. Right. They are like peas and carrots. They're like Jenny and Forrest Gump and all that other bullshit.
Yeah, your guy Danny Anderson told me, he's like, oh man, you know, Richard, you know, Cameron's got his head screwed on tight and Richard's got it torqued properly to spec.
That's right. Well, it's the truth, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, look, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on Rich's program a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First of all, it's personal. And second of all, I certainly don't know all that's going on over there. But I think once you know, it's just like Matt with Ed. They have a communication. You know, I can walk in and go, oh, Matt, everything's going to be great, man. You're going to get a whole shot. And he's probably just going like, yeah, man, sure. Whatever, fat boy. And then he goes, hey.
That really cool South African accent.
Right. Right. And then you got Ed who pops in and goes, yeah, right. Don't listen to that fat guy. All you got to do is blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be, P1 into turn one. And
right.
And it does. And because everything Ed says he's going to deliver, he delivers. And everything Herschel says he's going to deliver, he delivers. And those are Matthew, and with Cornwell too, those are Matthew's. That's like his superhero group. And the rest of us are just, well, I'm not sure what we are. We're just doing what we're told.
To talking to, about Attack a Ton, and, another supporter of mine with the TrackDaz program, Yoshimura, helps you guys in a big way too, right?
Yoshimura has been with us since the very beginning. They have not taken their foot off the gas. I'm really hoping to get a little bit of a bump, wink, wink, maybe for 21, since all their shit over there is pretty settled.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what are you doing with that? Hey, what are you doing with that piece of equipment? But no, so, Big E and Tim over there are my two points of contact. Now that Don isn't running day-to-day business over there. And of course, Yusaku, who is the president of the deal and obviously has an incredible lineage. And then there's another guy over there, Eric Steen, who actually runs the pipe department now. Okay. And I've worked with all of them and still do. And I got to tell you guys, when we have a test pipe show up or something, we never go backwards with those guys. And I'll share a little secret with you. Our motorcycle has never been to the Yoshimura facility, our superbike, ever, even our super stock bike. And we just don't have, when they have the time, we don't have the time. So those guys did a lot of computer modeling and things of that nature. And this winter, I wish I had a picture of it here to show you. I don't. I'll post it up on your site, on your page afterwards. But they actually built us our very first version of our superbike this year, and they 3D printed it.
Really?
And it came as, with every slip joint, exactly what it was going to be, the exact same sizes, right through to the muffler, the mounts all underneath the frame, for the trick left-hand oil pan, for the trick water cooler and oil cooler, for everything to fit within our fairing. And we actually built our bike around that oil pan. And Yosh, I mean, they did it all with a street bike. I think they went and got an R1S or something from Yamaha. Or maybe in one of yours, who the hell knows?
I mean, dude, for years, we've been supported by Yamaha now since 2008. And
Lucky dog.
We've been supported by Yoshimura since, I think, 2013. And just about every year, I'm getting a call from Eric, and he's like, hey, what are you doing with this R1?
Right.
And I bring the bike down, and 2017 R6, when we did that a couple years ago, we did the 2015 R1, we did the MT10, MT07. I mean, every bike we've basically had, R3 even, Yoshimura, all the pipes that they're selling for those Yamahas, they made them off of our bikes.
But you laugh because there's some irony in that. But what people don't really understand, like guys like you and guys like me who are trying to put deals together, it's all about completing the circle, right?
Right.
So you're bringing the Yamaha to them. Yamaha and Yoshimura are first to market for those specific model units. It's already going in the Yamaha catalog. You can activate that product first. You can advertise it for them, everything. And the weird thing about Yoshimura is their activation are their podiums. Their activation is HRC with the Honda guys and the motocross stuff. It's with TrackDaz. It's with Westby Racing. And they really don't. I've tried to turn a lot of people on to them so they could maybe get sponsored, and they don't sponsor a lot of people. So it makes me feel even better.
Yeah, Yusaku, I can remember being at the shop in the exhaust side, and he was developing the Alpha T pipe. And he walks up to me with two end caps, and he's like, which one? So I pointed one out, and he's like, okay. It's like,
I know.
I consider Yusaku a good friend, and
as do I.
He came out to Chuckwalla with us at our track day earlier this year, and I gave him a 2-up ride and opened up his eyes a little bit. So that was fun. He had some few colorful phrases for me afterwards.
I'm sure. I'll tell you, I don't know what the COVID stuff is like in California, but I would urge people, maybe not make a special trip, but if they are down there in that area where they are, to stop in and just try and see someone, even if it's just for a minute, because, like when I showed up out there years ago, I'm like, oh, wow. So this building's really big. And they're like, yeah, so we're going to take you over to the carbon and pipe production area now. And I'm like, okay, so we're walking across this, 40,000 square foot building. And then we walk out through a door, it's sunshine. So I'm looking at soccer court. I'm like, where is it? Oh, it's across the street. So we go into this other building over there, and he's showing me the autoclave and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, let me take you over to this shop. And, me and my buddy are like, are you shitting me? It's like a little it's like a little Yoshimura village over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And everything they do is first class. And everybody there is super respectful. You know, even though those guys were on Suzuki's, Yoshimura as a whole, even that team, they were very good to Westby Racing when they were racing. They helped us out a few times. They helped us out logistically a few times, and the employees and the guys they're always very kind to us and very generous. You know, if you got into a real jamming, a nut or a bolt or some advice or something like that, we're very fortunate. I think people need to know that too about the consumers need to know stuff like that about the product that they're building. You know, there's nothing that they make. You know, all the pipes that they make, the commercial pipes, are made in this country.
Right.
You know, Yoshimura Japan doesn't. They're not doing a lot of that anymore.
They're more of an American-based company than
that's right.
Companies are, right? So,
that's right. And
yeah, one of the things I think I told you in our chat a couple of days ago is that you know, I've known Richard for a long time, right? And Richard's program, the tax shop, is basically 4 dudes, right? Like they're making parts and whatever, and it's just a small operation. And I always, up until I did our deal with Yoshimura in 2013. No shit, I thought there was 4 dudes. And I go there and it's this giant factory and multiple buildings. And I'm like, what? So anyway, little anecdote there.
I don't know if in those days, you know, when Don was El Presidente, did you ever go in the foyer and go, did you get a chance? Did you go and rap out with him in his office?
Whose?
In Don's.
No, I didn't go to Don's. Like I always hung out with Yosaku or Tim.
Yep.
Or you know.
So Don's office at the time when he was running the deal was right. It was on top of those guys. So
okay.
you go up the stairs and you go up there. So he's like, yeah, come on up. So he's like, oh, you know, the Godfather will see you now. So, you know, we go in there and kiss the ring and we sit down, me and my buddy. And it's this big, long room. It's like, yeah. And his desk is way against the back. So like you walk in and it's like you're talking, it's like you're Flintstone and Rubble and you're talking to Mr. Slate. You know what I mean? He's got this big desk, like with his fancy letter opener, and it's just Don behind it, being Don. Like Don Sakakura, when you look him up in the encyclopedia, it shows a picture of a pillow rotating because he's the cool side of the pillow. The dude is, talk about a guy who taught me some shit.
That's so random.
Well, he just is, man. I mean, that guy is the shit. And he also did a lot for a lot of people and he did a lot for the series and Suzuki, and of course Suzuki did for him. But yeah, Yosh is a you know, you want to get off track, talk to me. But
hey,
but you know, no, Yosh is a wonderful facility.
I just throw his shit at you, and you're the one driving, dude. So
yeah, I know. Sorry.
You know what? There's a bunch of fan questions I have for you if you want to go down some of that stuff.
Yeah, we go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so Kyle Blakely asks, you know, what it really takes to land a sponsor. You know, what to offer a sponsor in return for their support. What kind of info/sales package should he use? And how does he contact a potential sponsor? I don't know if this guy's going racing or what.
I hope he is.
I hope he is because I don't. Man.
I hope he is because I don't mind. I don't mind, you know, answering that. I'll tell you what I would do if I was him is I would go to the Westby website and go into where you can contact them, and they'll put them in touch with me, and I'll help them. But in all honesty, I think what people want to see right now, companies, is they want to see you do a lot with very little. And we all understand why that is because of the way the economy is and because of the way things are. I mean, people are spending money like mad now because of the COVID and stuff like that, and the money and obviously where the stock market is, but they want to see you do a lot with a little. And yes, we're that kind of team that can do that. And we don't mind paying it forward. And we don't mind setting the bar for sponsors. Most of our sponsors are really happy with what we do because we exceed the expectations. The best way for somebody to do it during club racing is first look for a shop that will support you. And when I say support you, I don't mean give you things or anything like that. Somebody that you can get a good relationship with, a good rapport with, who's interested in your craft as well, like a local shop that goes and will do track days and things of that nature. And make yourself a man or a woman or a kid of the paddock. You know, be nice to people. See how you can help people. You know, we stopped carrying a lot of stuff on the trailer
Yeah.
because the guys told me, you know, Chuck, you put out a proverbial saucer of milk for everyone. So people used to come to us for anything and everything. And, you know, frankly, if I had my say, I'd have another trailer towing this one so I could just help people all the time. But sponsorship is exceptionally difficult right now. I think in order of importance, you should look for good products, not free ones. You should look for good products. And you shouldn't ask for anything first. You should prove yourself and then sell that to prospective sponsor. Or, you know, a sponsor can be anyone that even comes to the track and helps you with your rear stand or anything like that. I think people get caught up in getting a free pair of grips or a check for $5,000 or a bunch of free shit that's shit. And you usually don't realize that till you got a stack of shit.
Right.
You went, you must have got that done over the border.
That was the K&N oil filter.
Oh man.
Hey, I'm not going to
I know
anything.
Did you get paid?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We were good.
Good.
But I mean, a lot of people didn't.
You know, dude, it isn't, when that was happening, seriously.
Yeah.
It went through our paddock like COVID, didn't it? I mean,
dude,
everybody had.
Kyle Wyman at COTA.
Oh my God. That poor kid.
Yeah,
that poor guy.
Yeah.
You know, hey, you're on national television and you're on fire. And and now your shit's all jacked off.
Yes.
But it was amazing. You know, all those filters you want to assume are made in the same place in some foreign country, because it was them, and then it was a Quicksilver deal, and then it was
Vortex had them.
Yes.
Right.
So, and I understand, you know, you got to do what you got to do to stay in business, and you want to offer a cheaper product, and I totally respect that. But it's hard to believe that you can't make or somebody can't make a product where you're not cognizant of the oil pressure you're going to use, and it blows out. And I mean, look, we're laughing about a bike on fire and a belly pan full of oil, and we could be talking about some other more serious things.
100%,
like you,
man.
You know,
I mean, look, those guys came to the shop and inspected the thing, and they're like, I don't know why this happened. Do you mind if we take the filter? We're like, yeah, dude, take it.
Right.
You know, and they were really good to me as far as that goes. And you know, I don't, you know, they're like, yep, we're buying you a new bike, you know, like that kind of thing. So
I think that's incredibly, I'll be honest with you, Dustin, that would, you know, and your opinion may be very different than mine, but that might make me, you know, they willingly pretty much accepted the fact and told you that they made a mistake and they're willing to make good on it. And to me, that would be a company that I would want to deal with in some way. I'm not saying, hey, you messed up my bike, I want a bunch of free shit. But if they have the integrity to do that and to have a recall on their product,
I mean, I still won't. I'm stoked that they did that, and I'm really happy that they did that. But I'm also like never gonna run their stuff again.
Well, and I will tell you, why you shouldn't, is because, you know, your job, just like mine, is to push Yamaha product, and there ain't nothing wrong with an OE filter of any brand. And that, you know, I
call my dude at Yamaha and order like a brick of them at a time now.
That's right. They come in that nice brown box. That's right. 10 at a time. And they're real good. And you know, you torque that thing to what the service manual says and you walk away from it. And that's it. So I get that too. But, you know, getting back to the original part of the question with the sponsorship stuff, man, I won't lie to you, it's very difficult right now. But I think honesty and integrity is what you can sell first, and the rest will follow.
Well, a lot of club racers too, like when they're first starting out, they don't realize that sponsorship is more than, dude, I'll run your sticker, right?
Yeah, it really has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, thanks, but yeah. So.
Well, you're not trying to activate to the other people there at the track. All the people there at the track already have items on their bikes, especially if you go to a track day. Most of those bikes are set up, for Christ's sakes, like my bike or Stamboli's bike. They got all the shit on them anyway.
Right.
So what you need to, I shouldn't say to pander, that's not a proper word, but who you need to sell to and focus on are people that aren't at that event. And frankly, anybody who's going to listen. They don't have to be in the motorcycle industry. K&N is involved in every kind of air filter there is.
Yeah.
You know, you can go and be a spokesperson for them at any bike night or any car night or anything like that. So I think reaching the masses, you know, I think a crossover should be coming between motorcycle and automotive stuff, it should be coming soon, because a lot of the companies themselves are crossing over, and there's a hell of a lot more small block Chevys than there are R1s.
Right. Well, I mean, I talked to a dude earlier today about something. There's like a kind of a famous oil company maybe going to start coming back to our sport, which is like, you know, wow, okay, pretty iconic brand. We'll see how it goes.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's people. I think motorcycles are attractive because it's exciting. You know, it's kind of like
That's
that
right.
thing too, a little bit. But yeah. So anyway.
You know what you need to do? You need to do like what Greg White does. You need to have like a little alarm or an egg timer, and that way I only have a certain amount of time to answer the questions, because I want to get to them all.
Oh, dude. Well, here's a few. Like, okay, so let's see here. Gil Ramos asks you he says to ask Chucky about his go-to pre-race meal.
My go-to pre-race meal, if I had my way, it would be a pepperoni pizza large for myself from the Taste of Italy in Woodstock. But since it can't be, you know, this year and last year we've been eating lunch from the Moto America canteen, which has been pretty good. It's good in the fact that it's healthy, which I think sucks. So I always go for the Chips Ahoy and stuff like that. But you know, Gil knows. Look, if we're at Road America, I'm at St. John's Baptist, and I'm doing some brats. If I'm at Laguna, I'm doing probably some kind of a bowl from teriyaki bowl from the I'm not smoking a bowl. I'm at a teriyaki bowl at Laguna, you know, in the little food thing there. Daytona, I ain't doing anything. I might go to Jimmy John's across the street, but Daytona is like a school lunch. I mean, it's just absolutely awful. So I would say there is nothing go to, but I do like fresh white bread. So if there were, you know, if I could have like a Jersey Mike's 7, like a roast beef all the time with a you know, a 22 ounce or 24 ounce Pepsi on the rocks, a couple bags of Lay's baked sour cream and onion chips. And if they only have the small cookies, I'll do 3 of the chocolate chip cookies or just 1 of the big chocolate chips. I would default with that every time. I like to get Jersey Mike's as a sponsor.
So that's it?
Well, don't forget, there's Sunday as well, and there's warm-up, you know?
Okay.
Oh, man, speaking of warm-ups, Sunday before the race, before the warm-up, I went over to we were at the Ridge last week, and I went over and, holy shit, dude, you got to wait at their cafeteria. You wouldn't believe the size of the burrito. I mean, it was like a Louisville Slugger. The thing was unbelievable. So if anybody goes to the Ridge, get the breakfast burrito.
You know what?
Fat Chuck approved.
I was there for a couple of days with the boys, right? And, you know, Glenn, AKA the lunch lady. Yeah, I said it.
If there's one thing, hey, look, if there's one thing I like about Glenn is his appetite.
Dude,
we share that.
Has lunch dialed.
Yes.
But yeah, dude, I was over having lunch, and no shit, Paul had a thing of fries with like nacho cheese on it, like the size of a horse trough, dude.
Right. Those people are really trying hard up there, Dustin.
I'm like, how much was that? He's like $2.79 or whatever. I don't know. I'm like, what? Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty crazy over there.
I had something more, you know, like, oh, I will only eat parsnip before a race or something, but that's bullshit.
Okay. So, you know, another food thing, Van Daly says that, you know, after you said all that eating stuff, like, is what you eat is that as awful as what Scholtz eats?
Oh, dude, Matthew Scholtz is a maniac with his diet and his fitness.
Really?
Oh, Dustin, he is so vanilla and so boring. He only eats what his body needs, number one. So like if he says, I need this much of this and this much of that, that's all he eats. You know what I mean? Like he'll eat, he's a machine. Matthew Scholtz is he's the most fit motorcycle racer I've ever been around. And there might be somebody who's more fit than him. I don't know, but he's never winded. And he's like the Energizer Bunny. I mean, he can keep going and going and going. Matthew is I always say it, you know, if there's one thing I can say about that guy, he is in shape. He is a machine. So Matthew's cheat diet is like, that's what my diet. I mean, I don't eat garbage all the time, but when Matthew cheats, he'll eat a little bit of garbage, not a lot, but like when we're at the track, he'll be like, oh, I'll have a Subway. And I'm like, a Subway? Yes, I'll have a Subway teriyaki chicken. You know, I'm like, all right, whatever.
That's his cheat day.
Right. That's his cheat day. But he'll do like chicken breast or pasta or broccoli, you know, typical stuff. And he's a protein guy. Like we used to talk about, used to talk shit about Jake all the time, Gagne. Because it's like, dude, did you see that? He was eating like Martian brains, 30 ounces of them out of a straw. You know, I'm like,
dude, Jake.
Yes.
When we were at the Ridge, he's like, I'm like, dude, why don't you come to dinner with us? I'm gonna go to Trader Joe's and get. I'm like, what, dude? So yeah, like he didn't hang with us at all. Like he'd go back to his hotel, eat his little Trader Joe's thing, and
right. They always come like with their own little bag of shit. You know what I mean? Like they're Yeah.
So, I mean, I know Heron's doing that fresh and lean thing too, right? There's a few guys.
Yes.
Doing that.
Yes. So. Yes. But no, Matt is a dude. I mean, forgive my French, but you can't fuck with that guy with fitness. I mean, it's part of his life. It's part of something that he was born into with his dad. His dad's in very good physical shape. You know, and Matthew is, dude, he's built like a brick shit house. I mean, he really is. Like when him and Tony got into that altercation, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to turn into much, but the first thing I'm thinking is this guy has the longest reach in the paddock.
and Tony's kind of a midget.
Dude. I mean, he would have, I mean, it could have been really bad, you know, and I say that with a light heart because I don't want to see any of that happen. But when there's some drama, I mean, Matthew's not going to, dude, he ain't going to take any shit.
You know, our sport's kind of a passionate sport, right? And
for sure,
you know, I mean, our lives are on the line, you know, like lives are on the line when, you know, those guys are putting everything out there and it's so thin. So yeah, I mean, you know, the red mist is still on when it's over, you know? So I just kind of let it go. I tried. I've been involved in some of that crap myself. So
I bet, especially with what, right. But you can't do anything out there because somebody's just going to hire a lawyer and sue you.
Yeah. Okay. So Mario Baez, old school friend of yours, I think.
Dude, did you see the guns on that guy? That guy's like the macho man.
We call him, what do we call him? We call him the gun show.
Dude, he is huge.
Yeah. I tried to get him to put beefcake on the back of his TrackDaz leather, and he refused. Like his chick at the time was like, "Ixnay" on the Cartman thing.
Oh no!
So we're like, okay, how about gun show? He's like, yeah, I'll do that because I'm into guns. And I'm like, no, dude, it's because you're gigantic.
You know, when I first met him,
you know,
right? When I first met him, he had a regular build, and then I didn't see him for like 3 or 4 years. And I went back to Dustin Metter on the team, and I'm like, dude. That guy is huge. I mean, dude, you know, talking about pounding somebody into the ground, that's another guy I wouldn't mess with.
Yeah.
He would light you up.
He's a big fella, but he says to ask you, what's up with his boy Double Duty?
That's who. Okay. So we're turning back to
Double Duty. I don't even know what that is.
Double Duty is Dustin Metter, who is he, Trig, and Dane are the OGs, bro. They were the original gangsters. So Dustin is pretty much, Dustin's family has been affiliated with Trig's family since Dustin was alive. And Dustin's dad used to be in business with Trig. So they go way, way back. But with Dustin, like he was a great rider. I shouldn't say he was. I'm sure he still is a great rider. But there were a couple of times when we were kind of jacked, you know, and we were like, man, we need a rider to do this. We need a rider to do that. And you know, he's like kind of sitting over there in the corner like this. And I look at Trig and Trig's like, well, hell, it'd be great if Dustin was on the bike. Are you kidding me? And blah, 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 blah. I ain't shitting you, dude. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. That's so
you know, and I'm like, hey, Dustin, you want to ride the 8 hour? You want to ride the 8 hour endurance? We're going to have Dane, you, Hayes, and Jeff Wood. Hell yes. So we throw the team together and we go down. But Double Duty came because even when Dustin he did some guest riding for us. One time when Josh went down, he rode for us at VIR. He's ridden for us at several places and done some testing for us too. And Chris Crizel made him a sticker for the back of his helmet, Double Duty. So it's like him in his suit, but he's got a wrench in his hand too. So he's always, I think he still rides as much as he can. I don't know how much he can these days because he's so busy with his kid and he just got a house and stuff. But yeah, so that's where double duty came from. So for for like the people who know me as Fat Chuck, there's a story that goes along with that. And if you don't know, you shouldn't say it. And double duty it's not a secret, but it's just, if it's like you're the old head, you know what you know.
Right.
Don't worry, Dustin, double duty is doing really good. And he's doing a hell of a job for us as usual, Mr. Baez.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so Austin Phillips, he's like former club racer from out here, and I know he moved back east. I think he's in Alabama now.
I'm sorry.
I don't really know what it's Alabama. What are you gonna do?
No, I shouldn't talk shit. I mean, I'm not far from there.
Yeah, you're his next door neighbor practically.
Yeah, you turn the lights out around here in my neighborhood. It's like, Daddy, get off me! You're crushing my cigarettes.
Stop. Okay, so Austin really wants to know like how you got started in the industry and like what led you to where you are today.
The same way you acquire a sponsor. So I had my apprenticeship in the Boilermakers Union back in Massachusetts, and I always wanted a motorcycle. My parents wouldn't let me have one. So I moved out of the house after I got out of school, moved in with my uncle, who was a total gearhead, got a motorcycle and just started riding it around. And there was this Ducati shop back in Kingston, Massachusetts. So I used to just go down there and like hang out. Pretty soon I'd be hanging out on Saturdays, drinking coffee with the guys. And there was a guy by the name of Ray Shia that owned the place, and Mark Robinson. They were Ducati guys, and they let me start sweeping the floor and start working behind the parts counter. And they had a guy that used to race for them years and years ago. And the old school guys will know who this is. His name was Gary Stass. He was a Pro Twins rider. He rode a Ducati F1. He rode around with Adamo and Kevin Arian and Craig Arian and all those guys. He was really good. But I got involved with it like that, and I volunteered. I've been doing this as long as I have, and embarrassingly enough, I've never made a lot of money doing it. I've donated a lot of stuff and done a lot of stuff pro bono because I think it's the same for surfers. The surfers will tell you, hey man, surfing's the source. This work has given me a lot. It hasn't given me a lot financially, but it's given me a lot. I've seen some really cool things. I've met some wonderful people, and it's nice to see new faces, and it's nice to see the same old faces. But that's how I got started. Was even, I club raced, and I even raced professionally, but was absolutely horrible. It was horrible. I was terrified the whole time. And I was like, I'm going to be way better off. I was always a gearhead. I was like, I'm going to be way better off on this side than the other side. And then, I worked for a bunch of teams coming through and worked with some kids. That was pretty interesting to see how that support went. And you just kind of evolve. I mean, this thing with the Westbys for me is Triggs made me, I think a part of his family. And I appreciate that. And I've been very fortunate to not have my own team, but yet kind of to have my own team. He's given me the freedom to make a lot of calls and to make a lot of decisions, which I really enjoy and I'm very grateful for. A lot of people wouldn't let you do that with their baby or their son for that matter, when Dane was with us.
Right.
But to this day, Trig, I mean, he's standing tall. I'm real lucky. Not a lot of, like Stamboli even says, oh, you got to ride it for this many years. It's time to let him go, or you got to move on to something else. And some people would say the same of a team, or if you were working for a team, that way you can go and see different things if you're not on a factory team, but we've always made it work. I mean, there's been some really tenacious times and hard times, but it always ends up working itself out. Sometimes you have a feeling that could be it. And other times you go, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It's a best times, worst times thing. But again, I think to be in the industry a long time and to become a manager or even somebody that's a steady on a team revolves on your consistency and to be smarter than me. And the one thing you can do to have a really good job in the paddock is be reliable, honest, have some integrity, and most of all, and this is going to sound funny coming from me, but don't lose your cool, man. I mean, there's been times where people go, dude, you're bipolar. What's wrong with you? I mean, you're fine one minute, you're ripping your shirt off the next, which nobody ever wants to see, wife included, or I'm flipping out. And that's a side of me that it's no good for business. You know, it's
Right.
no good for business. And
Dude,
if you can
I've
be
done
cool,
that.
dude, if you can be cool, there I want to hang out with cool people. You know what I mean? I don't want to hang out a lot after I'm done freaking out about something, I go, man, I wouldn't want to hang out with me, you know, like, so that's, I think,
Yeah.
the biggest thing. So there could be a lot more people that are highly engaged in this sport if they're willing to sacrifice and donate. And I know that donate their time to get into a place. It's it's a it's not a profitable business to earn a living in doing what I'm doing. But what I get back from it, for me, is just incredible. And I think that I have to look at it like I'm in my 50s now and I'm one of the lucky ones. Like I said, if if my paycheck was 3 times what it is, I would just do more dumb shit with my money. You know, I mean, well, I say that, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, it just,
Oh, dude. Dude, I spend money on club racing, dude. Like,
which is great. But I'm for the
right.
here and, as far as my money, I'm for the here and now. For the sport, I definitely do like looking into the future of it. And again, you know, that dude Austin Phillips, I love talking about this stuff. I don't mind breaking bread with somebody, coming by for a water or something, and chewing the fat, but a lot of it has to do with timing. I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine if I was lucky enough to start with a Graves or a Stamboli or an Arian or any of those great old teams, a Yosh? I took it like Herschel, my guy, when he went out, dude, he started at Yosh doing some menial job. And then it just transpired. He was in the right place at the right time and had the right skill set. And most of all, he had the most grit and the determination. And they saw that, and they kept on, his position kept on getting bigger and better. I mean, that guy did electronics with Amar Bazaz and won a bazillion championships. Like,
Right.
it's a total mic drop. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he put himself in that situation by being a good guy and working really hard. I know it sounds cliche, but it's totally true. I mean, look at all the teams that have come in and come out. You know, I mean, so it's very hard. I wish there was a clear recipe. I wouldn't charge anybody for it.
So what do you do in the off season? Like, does the work ever stop?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I think it could stop for a couple of weeks. But generally right after the last event, I'm scheming and scamming, and everybody else wants to take a little bit of a break and they end up hating me. But for me, generally, I'll go on a bit of a vacation in November for like a week with family. And that's when it usually is all taking place and we get ready to go. But for me, no, there is no off season. As a matter of fact, excuse me, Matthew and Kiara generally go home to Durban, to South Africa, over the winter, and Matthew usually goes home for about 45 days. And I'm going to try and he's going to hate me for it, but hey, Matt, I'm really going to try and get him to make it a little bit less of a trip this year. So because we find with the more seat time we get now, the quality seat time anyway, the results are staggering compared to just having him around hit or miss. And I think he'll be pretty keen to do it. He doesn't not like to ride. So yeah,
Right.
there isn't, and I don't know that there should be an off season for me. I mean,
Okay.
you get bored as hell. I mean, I don't know how a teacher does it. They don't do shit during the summer. And what are they going to do? They're going to plant petunias and read books and drink wine and shit like that. I don't want to do any of that.
Lots of wine. That's my wife.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Hey, happy wife, happy life.
And you know what? I'm gonna start to wrap this up, but the
Yeah.
last question is from, he's a longtime customer of mine. He's a customer of the shop too, Matt Testa. He wants to know it, and you know what? I want to know too. Like, when are we gonna convince Trig to field a second superbike? And go.
So, and it's honest to God's truth, Ed and I talk about that a lot amongst ourselves. And like, even this year we were talking, and he's right. It's like everything has fallen just right this year with all the bullshit around. And it's like, we are good, but we're still lucky.
Right.
And I think we need to reach that place where we really do, where we win it. It's like, you don't have to sell Trig on anything. It just needs to come natural. And I think when we finish the next step, which is to win a championship again, a superbike championship this time, I think then and only then, unless a big sponsor came in, that's when we would look at a second superbike rider. I think there are tremendous advantages to it, tremendous advantages, and more advantages that I'm learning about every time we're at the track, talking to guys who have had and worked with two superbike guys. To me, one superbike guy is overwhelming. I will say this as well for people who want to get into the sport. Like, here's a problem that we have at Westby Racing. Good help is very, 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 very hard to find. I mean, you know, people who ain't going to nick tools, people who are going to show up for work, people who aren't going to do dumb shit, and mostly people who can do what they're told. It's like, you don't really need this wicked smart person. It doesn't have to be a man. It doesn't have to be a woman. It's not a certain age that you have to be. You have to be really switched on. You have to be switched on to doing the right thing and following direction. And we have a shortage of that in the paddock right now. I'm not saying that the people who are in this paddock are part of the shortage. You're not. The people who have jobs in the paddock right now are really good, and they're there for a reason. All of them, from Junior Cup to Superbike. But we need more guys to come through, just like the racing, the mechanics, the mechanics, the activation people, hospitality people. We need the next generation to come through. We really do. We've done it a couple of times within our organization to promote from within, which has been fantastic for us. I would very much like to field a second Superbike ride, but when it's comfortable for Trig, and more importantly, to not, you know, what do they say? Bite off your nose or spite your face. Right. Is that what they say? Something like that. Yeah. That would be, I think I would be setting my guys, you know, there might be a mutiny because help is so hard to find. All of our guys are fly-in guys for a reason. You know, this team has been together a long time, but it wasn't like a band of brothers that started. So Ed already had a very established business going on. Herschel came to us 2 years ago, and he left Yoshimura and had and still has a successful business. Dustin has his deal with Trig and lives in Tulsa, and he's not going to move and come to where I am, and I respect that. And Danny Anderson works with us out of Colorado Springs, and frankly, he's worth it to have him fly in and not be there full time. The guy's extremely passionate, and he does really good work. But just like everything, his first deal is the Ninja deal. Yeah. You know, and it's very hard for me to go, oh, why don't you just sacrifice your customer base and come on out here and stay for another week? The only thing I can offer him is, you know, the bed, the Airbnb that he stays in, and he likes riding the bicycle trails around. Beyond that, he's losing money being with us. Now, that's not my problem. He signed up for it, but it's good to have a guy like the guys that are in, and it's just so difficult to find anyone who will do what these guys do. And the other thing is, if you want to be a hero on the team, just do what you're supposed to do, you know? Yeah. And we have a good technical director who is our crew chief. Again, I'll say his name again, Ed Sullivan, and he's got a plan. And he, you know, he's like they say, he's that duck. It doesn't look like he's doing anything, but under the water, he's like this. You know, he's swimming his ass off. Yeah. And Ed he's a very quick learn, and I think he's a pretty quick teach, and he's very direct and to the point. So if you can deal with that, you'll be in good shape. And I think it's the same if you go to work for the Ulriches, for the Stamboli organization, for really any class act organization. You go to work for Moto America, you got to do what you're being told. So to get back to the original point of the story, to get a second Superbike rider, we need to get our first job done, which is win a championship or get damn close and hope for some more money to come. Right. I
mean, how about a 600? You know, I mean,
I would like to see. Look, I think
you guys are working with that R3 kid, right?
We're working with Cody. We're working with Cody. I would love to see a 600. I'll be honest with you, if the class structure stays the same, I'd love to see a stock 1000 kid, because that's really the future. Look, Superbike and Junior Cup, inevitably, in my opinion, are going to be the two premier classes sooner than later. I'm not saying 600 is dead. It certainly isn't. There's some wonderful talent in there, and there's some great teams. But again, Dustin, the budget's one thing, but finding even if, like right now, we have budget. And we're going to be looking, because none of our guys can move here. I think it's fair to say that Westby Racing is going to be looking for someone that lives around us, around the metro Atlanta area, or someone that's willing to come move here.
Right.
And I don't know how many people you're going to find to do that. It's not Huntington Beach. It's not Cypress, California. It's not.
Dude, it's Georgia, but the barbecue, right?
But the barbecue. Don't forget about the barbecue. Exactly. But I gotta think if Ulrich can get guys over to his place in Athens, Alabama, which is a lovely place. It's a little low key for me, but if you can get people to come to Athens, Alabama, we should be able to get somebody to come to Woodstock. You can always visit for free.
Okay, so the last question before we wrap this is like, what's the deal with the truck and trailer thing? Like, how come you guys don't have a semi? You're this big superbike team. You're battling for podiums out of the back of a pickup truck.
So Moto America wants to know that too. They've wanted to know it for about 6 years. They wanted to know it since we signed up with them. I think there's nothing more that Trig would love than to have a place to read his paper and put his feet up, and nice leathered out, murdered out big truck and air conditioning and a couple of bottles of wine, et cetera, et cetera. I think unless it's for ego, which, you really have to look twice. This winter, we'll be looking twice again. I never sell Trig anything, but I'll bring an opportunity to him, or what I think is an opportunity. We came very close last year, and
I know Richard's got that other tractor.
Hey, don't say it, because right? I don't want anybody else knowing about that thing. You know what I mean? Because he wants to do an especial deal with us, which is fantastic. Again, I say he's a selfish bastard, but the guy, he's done a lot for us. But no, and I think the guys would like it too. I really do. The other problem is, who the hell do you get to drive the thing? I'm not going to drive it. You kidding me? I mean, I could. I used to have a CDL, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how Richard does all of that.
Because he's a maniac who does sleep deprivation. That's why.
I mean, that dude, he's done so much with so little, and but he's doing it with so little because he takes on the roles of like 4 different crew members and absorbs.
Hey, remember that movie with Tom Hanks where he crashed the airplane there, Castaway? That is a thinner and more pale Richard Stamboli. I think he would enjoy, not the airplane crashing thing, but I think he would enjoy being on an island by himself. Maybe before he met his wife and child. I shouldn't say that now. But before he met his wife and child, I'm sure he wouldn't mind the whole spear fishing and eating bugs, because I think he did a bunch of that in his former life.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like he does do the truck drive.
That's what I'm saying. He does it all.
And she, electronics engineer guy, like how well, when you guys have all of that on your team, but it's 4 different dudes, right?
Well, exactly, and that's why I make the reference to Tom Hanks, right? Because he had to do everything to survive. But I think that's Richard's. I don't know this for a fact, but I think he has to go a long way to hand something, to hand a certain baton off to somebody, if you will. I don't know that guy would ever be happy to just unload a certain part of the program on someone, because he has to touch it and feel it all. And you know what? Some guys think that gets in the way, and maybe it does, but it's his team, and I certainly respect it. I don't really know that there's much that I would do different, because I'm still learning. So to have it,
it's hard to argue with winning every race this year,
Well, you can't argue with it, even though people want to.
Yeah.
Even though people want to.
That one.
Yeah. And you know what, dude? I'll say this in closing. People need to watch what happens for the rest of the year and then move it into next year. Because I think we're going to show that Yamaha is going to be the direction that you want to go. Because we're going to make it easier and easier. Don't forget, dude, there's been very little development done on this engine and this motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
It is a brand new power plant. And again, I hate to say it, but with the virus that happened and with the time and getting parts and pieces, everything was rush. And it still is. Even for next year, it will be. But as that bike comes back to us and as we learn more about it and learn more with the cylinder head and the throttle bodies and all that other stuff, dude, that bike's only going to get better. I mean, I can tell you right now, we aren't making the horsepower that we did last year out of the 2CR model. Okay.
Right.
But I know that it can make the horsepower. we're running all standard YEC parts in that thing except the Morelli. We're running the YEC funnels, the YEC cams, the stock springs, blah, 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 blah. Everything he sells, we're
talking
running.
about developing some funnels and a few
Yep.
other knick-knacky stuff, hint to hint.
Right. It's going to be good.
All that stuff's going to be available. So, I mean.
Well, that's the beauty of it. And you'll be able to do it. You'll be able to do it in stages. Real quick, I just wanted to say, some people are bored with the racing on TV, and I hate it. And I go on the Facebook and I see it and I argue with some guys, and, I probably shouldn't. Some of them think I'm a know-it-all. I'm not.
Last night, dude. Like, I was like, dude, could you have Cam slow down? Because it's like boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. It's not boring to us because it's very exciting, because when you look at the elapsed time of the race, you can see where your progress is and where your progress isn't. Now, a smartass like Richard Stamboli goes, oh yeah, well, you can't really care. It really wasn't 8 that you calculated. It was 12 because, I gave Cameron the Vulcan mind look when he came by and he rolled off, and, he had another 3/4 of a second in him, which is probably true. But we are making gains, and I would say that Jake is also making gains, and Bobby Fong's not slow. And you know what, dude? I bet Tony Elias turns that thing around. Dude, he's got weird seasons.
It's hurting my heart. I told Tony a couple of times. I was like, dude, what's going on? And I know it's killing that dude because he's such a competitor. He's like a passionate Spaniard. And he is, but look, the other thing, I'm not sure, look, far be it for me to tell you what's on Tony's mind, because I don't know, but those guys in M4 work really hard. You know what I mean? And Tony's a special guy. He won a MotoGP race, for Christ's sakes. I don't care how many years ago it was. Beat Valentino.
Right.
He's the only guy in our paddock that's done that.
Right. So yes, I understand his attitude and things of that nature. I've never worked with him personally. But that thing, you watch, I almost expected it at the Ridge. I'm like, oh shit, now this guy's coming, because you know how it is, dude. When he's on, it's bad news for everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And he ain't going to go. Look, the other thing is I was starting to get a little panicked. I'm like, oh my God, we're running out of time. Well, you're not. You're racing later into the season, Charles. You're at the halfway point at Ridge. So there's still plenty of time for everybody to turn everything around. Even if you look at Tony's deal last year, he was 47 points in the lead at Laguna.
Right.
And then what happened? Cameron Charles came blazing through. Him and Garrett made the rest of us look stupid.
Right. Wow, man. Well, you know what? I know you've got Jersey coming up.
Yes.
And then you've got Barber, right? So, You know what? I wish you the best of luck. Dude, it's been a fun chat, man. We should do this again sometime.
I'd really enjoy it. And I wouldn't mind getting into some of the meat and potatoes about the team.
Yeah.
And man, I'm really sorry if I got long-winded, but that's what I do.
No, dude, I don't give a shit about that. I thought it was cool.
Cool. And let me know when you're going to open up when you're going to start coming east. It might be, I've got some really good friends in track day business stuff out here, and I'd love for you to share an experience, like just come out as a guest, right?
Oh, dude, I know that there's a couple of Yamaha guys out in Georgia, Martin Blanco and those guys. And Martin's kind of been like, hey, man, come on out,
Well, I do. I think it would be neat, and maybe we got a little something for you to throw a leg over. You know what I mean? You show up and arrive and ride.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, my dad lives out in Macon, so.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually from Savannah, dude.
I know you told me that.
Boy, come on now.
You here?
Yeah, dude. So.
Hey, Dustin, thanks an awful lot, man. I appreciate.
Yeah, dude. Good times.
I appreciate what you're doing for the sport. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I bleed this sport, right? So, I have my little track day thing. I'm a little regional track day dude. I help out with club racing and stuff, and. I'm more of a grassroots dude, but it's been pretty cool being involved with the attack program the last 3 years or whatever. And, I just want to keep.
Oh, hey, I wanted to tell you, and I know you saw it, and I don't know why I'm now this is effed up because I'm blowing. Thank God we're not paying for this time. Right. So remember the other day you asked me about that Weir thing?
Oh.
Did you see it on Road Racing World?
No, I didn't. I've been working today and.
Okay, so check it out. I guess Evelyn called up Ulrich or someone over there, and they put a press release out that said Weir has not been sold. The rumors aren't true. John Cook made us an offer. You know, he apparently put a deadline on it or something. We weren't comfortable with the deadline. So we're going to party on, see you in 2021, which I thought was interesting because you and I were talking about that rumor before.
Yeah.
So maybe that can be the topic with Stamboli next time. Throw him off guard.
The rumor mill is, right? I mean, it's like, you know, I hear there's a lawsuit. I hear there's a purchase. I hear there's not a purchase. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And, you know, they probably were hearing it too, and you got sick of hearing it.
Yeah. Well, look, it's never when you know the deal, dude. The only person that wins is the lawyer, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully there's a lot less litigation in 2021 and a lot less COVID and a lot more two wheels going on.
Yeah, a lot more racing and a lot less shit talking.
Exactly. No. We got to do some shit talking.
Oh, well, after the racing.
Exactly.
Over barbecue.
Hell yes.
All right, man. Well, holler at you next time, dude.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
All right, man.